Hello, hello, greetings. Welcome. Welcome, artists. Welcome, educators. Welcome, artist educators. It's lovely to see you. Oh, I'm seeing some familiar faces and some new avatars and new Zoom screens, new pictures. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for joining us. We'll give folks another 20, 30 seconds to join in. For those of you who are already here, of course, this is PS Arts, Artist Educator Connect for Thursday, April 17th, a foggy, overcast Thursday, April 17th. We have a few more folks joining us in a moment, so we'll get started very shortly. Or continue on very shortly. I'm very curious to know, just by a show of hands, how many of you have joined an Artist Educator Connect event before? I know I'm seeing a lot of familiar folks. Is there anyone so far who's joining us who's brand new? Any new folks never been to this event before? Like one, two, M Magic, Amanda Booth, lovely, lovely. Um, well, let's see. Well, very good. Let's go ahead and get started. So, Kevin, if you don't mind, I'll cue you for the next slide. Um, Now that we've got sort of a full house. Uh, so welcome to PS Arts, everyone. We're a nonprofit organization in Los Angeles. We've been in operation for almost 35 years, and we bring high quality arts education to students in public schools that are systemically or historically under-resourced so that everyone can have an opportunity at really excellent arts education. We work in all the different arts disciplines, and the event that you're joining today, if you've never been with us before, is Artist Educator Connect. We'll talk a little more about that in just a moment. Kevin, if you can hit the next slide. My name is Tiffany. I'm the Director of Programs here at PS Arts. We would love to know a little bit about you all who are joining us. So if you don't mind, would you please drop your name, your connection to PS Arts, if any, and your personal connection to the arts in the chat. And we'll just take a look at that for a quick moment. So again, that's your name, your connection to PS Arts if you have one, or you can let us know this is the first time, and then your connection to the arts in general. And go ahead and drop those in the chat. Lovely. Thank you, Manuel, Manny. Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Gilda. Thank you, Loretta. For the couple of folks who just joined in the last moment or so, again, welcome to PS Arts Artist Educator Connect. I'm Tiffany Owens, and we're just asking folks to drop their name, their connection to PS Arts, and their connection to the arts in general into the chat. And go ahead and continue doing that. Kevin, if you don't mind moving us to the next slide, please. We want to go over just a little bit of basic housekeeping before we dive into the rest of the content of the afternoon. If you would please keep your camera on if possible. We completely understand if you can't, but if you are in a position where you can keep your camera on, as you all know, as artists and educators, having that ongoing feedback loop of connection creates energy for all of us in the space. So if you're able to keep your camera on, please do. Do use the chat box if you have any questions. I will try to keep an eye on that, as will a couple of my other colleagues. We'll try to answer your questions. If we start to see similar questions, we may answer those in aggregate. So know that we will try to get to your questions as we can. Do keep your mic deactivated or off unless you're directly participating in the conversation or answering or asking a question, just to minimize background noise. And those are our basic Zoom agreements. So thank you for observing those. And then, Kevin, if we can go to the next slide, I want to introduce some colleagues who are here in the space with us. Actually, I will let them introduce themselves. It is the PS Arts Educator Development team, and we'll just go right down the line from left to right. So first I'll introduce Jaime Reichner.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see some familiar faces, some new faces. I am Jaime Reichner. I'm the Associate Director of Educator Development here at PS Arts. I've been here, I think August makes 11 years. I was an arts integration coach and a teaching artist for PS Arts for some years before I moved onto the administrative staff. I oversee our professional development for our current faculty, which is, I think we're at about 90 coaches and teaching artists, as well as our contracts with school districts, classroom teacher workshops, and our teaching artist intensives, which we have some grads here today. So I will pass it along to my colleague Donzell.
Thank you, Jamie. Hello, everyone. I'm Donzell Lewis. I'm the Curriculum and Instruction Specialist here at PS Arts. I was a theater teaching artist in the classroom for about 10 years, and I've been with PS Arts for about 10 years. So I started with PS Arts in the classroom and then joined the side of the admin team working in educator development and focusing on both curriculum and instruction, what that looks like. Curriculum in regards to how do we devise intentional curriculum that is high quality and rigorous and challenges our students to become the best artists that we know they can be, and instruction in regards to what are different instructional practices and strategies to reach all learners so that way they can also develop learner agency and continue their lifelong learning process. And I get to work with Jamie and Jasmine in different capacities in their departments, but also other departments as well. I get to float around and work with many different teaching artists and different programs and workshops outside of PS Arts that we will go and do professional developments with. And I will pass it to Jasmine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Jackson. I am the Senior Program Manager at PS Arts, and I am an arts integration educator. I have worked in charter school administration and educational law advocacy prior to joining the team at PS Arts a year and a half ago. And I enjoy working with teachers and educators, teaching artists to train them in arts integration, creating experiential learning in the classroom for our students. And I think I'm passing it back to Jamie.
I'm going to grab it before it gets to Jamie, and I'm going to I'm going to move us along, and we'll hand it back to Jamie in a moment. So the lens for today, the goal is simply to, in this event, is for all of us to come together as artists and educators to create a sense of community, and B, to help share and exchange ideas to elevate all of our practice. That's the goal. That's the lens. Our agenda is going to be just simply that we move through several different activities. We move at the speed of collaboration. We move at the speed of calm, engaged curiosity and inquiry. So that is sort of how we're going to roll. And Kevin, if we can see that next slide, the agenda slide, we're going to do a few things. We've already covered number one. And the second thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you a question. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to ask a very broad question of the group in a moment. And after I've asked the question, please feel free to drop some answers into the chat. And the main overview question here is, in education, what do we mean when we're talking about a framework? And Kevin, if you can show that next slide, the yellow one on frameworks, that's the question. What does that mean to you all? Everyone who's gathered here, feel free to drop an answer in the chat. What do we mean when we say framework? And there's not a right answer. It's a little bit rhetorical in the sense that I'm curious what you all think. What do you think of when you hear the term framework? What does a framework mean to you all in education? I see parameters. Thank you, Terrence. Hi, Terrence. Yeah, parameters. What else? What comes to mind when we talk about frameworks in educational spaces? Structure, grounding, guidelines. Yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Basic guide. I see the word guideline, guidelines, guidance, the values and goals, the scaffolding, the big ideas, the baseline. Yes, yes, yes to all. Organizing principles. Yes to everything you're saying. When we talk about frameworks in educational spaces, we're talking about the organizing, guiding principles, the lens through which we're looking, the lens through which we're teaching and offering learning experiences to our students. So yes, feel free to keep adding to the chat there. Kevin, if we can have the next slide. We have a second question, and in a moment, we're going to send you all out into breakout rooms for about a minute to talk about the second question. And the second question is up on the screen. How can we, as artist educators, intentionally choose a particular educational framework
Mhm.
to support engagement, creativity, critical thinking, artistic expression for a wide variety of learners? How can we be intentional in choosing an educational framework to support student learning? So that's the question. And we're going to go into breakout rooms right about now. So chat it out with whoever you wind up in a breakout room with, and then we'll come back together in about 1 minute. And Kevin, if you can send us into breakouts. Well, hello, welcome back to the whole Zoom, everyone. What are some things that came up in your conversations? We'd love to hear from maybe just 2 or 3 people. What came up as you were discussing how to choose a framework, or if you choose a framework? What came up in your conversations? Would love to hear from some of you who joined us. 2 or 3 folks.
We kind of talked about adaptability, like not staying rigid with your framework, even if it's like a like guiding principle. Kind of what Manny was talking about, and other people echoed in my group, like being flexible within your framework and really knowing your learners.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. What else? What else came up? Did anybody wind up talking? Oh, go ahead. Yes, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say our group talked about the intention and preparation ahead of time. So that way you kind of have things prepared, but then being able to be, more like more free in the moment to be able to make those last minute changes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Any other sort of ideas or concepts come up? Yeah, Loretta.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So I think what we were talking about, just the cultural differences that may come into play, and maybe integrating different of the art forms, whether it's a theater class or an art class, to bring in movement and verbal things, and just all of the different senses, really, because kids and people in general learn in different ways. So keeping that in mind as you're structuring your lesson.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for that. Any last thoughts? Anyone else want to speak before we move on? Going once, going twice. All right, there may be more to say, but we will catch it on the flip side. So thank you for all of that. I heard adaptability, intention, preparation, cultural differences, integrating different art forms together and different modalities, being mindful that learners learn in different ways, right? Everyone's unique and comes into the space with a slightly different and unique perspective. From our guest presenters, our educator development team, we're going to be hearing about how they would approach one single theater activity. We chose theater in this case, one single theater activity, but from different lenses. So the question is, how can the same theater warm-up activity be used to organize and emphasize different concepts or ideas that we want students to receive and understand and experiment with and practice. So I am going to now officially turn it over to my colleague Jaime, who will start us on the answer to that question.
Thank you. Well, the best answers are just more questions. So hopefully we can generate lots and lots more questions. But we are going to be looking at 3 really specific educational frameworks this afternoon. Social emotional learning, abbreviated to SEL, arts integration, so core aligned with arts standards, and universal design for learning, commonly known as UDL. So these are the different frameworks that we're going to be looking at. I'm going to ask Kevin if we can stop share and go to gallery view. Amazing. Hello. For this, if you're able to turn your cameras on, that would be great. This is going to be a participatory activity. And if you do not, or you're not able to, we understand. We're still very glad you're here. So if you could, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to there should be a box at the top of your screen. It says recording with a red dot, and then it says view. If you click that and scroll down, it should say hide non-video participants. And then if you click that, you'll only see the folks whose cameras are on. Again, this is no pressure to turn it on if you can't. But for this activity, we just want to be able to see each other's faces. Great. Hopefully that worked. If not, please send a chat. And one of our colleagues can help you get there. So this is a really simple theater warm-up that a lot of folks may have participated in before or facilitated. We are going to create a simple machine. So hands or thumbs or anything, nods if you've done this before. So some yes, some maybe no. So essentially we're going to use our voices and our bodies to create a machine collaboratively. All right. And we're doing this on Zoom, which is an added challenge because were we in person, right, we would be able to separate like our audience, our observers from a little stage area, and we would actually try to like connect our bodies in some way. We're all in different orders right now, so this is going to be an experiment, but hopefully one that you can sort of imagine how it might translate in person. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to ask everyone to turn off your camera right now, if you could. We're going to watch everybody disappear. I'm going to turn mine off too, but you're still going to hear my voice. All right. So cameras should be off. Tiffany, are you able to turn yours off?
Well, I'm sure I am able. Let me work on that.
I don't know if it'll just go blank. Well, you'll have to just vamp because we're getting to see. Oh, great. So you should probably just see your own. You should just be seeing your own screensaver right now. But hearing my voice, so I'm going to ask a volunteer to turn your camera on. So the first volunteer to turn their camera on, you're going to lead us. Amazing. All right. How do you pronounce your name?
Magic.
Magic. So thank you so much for volunteering. Okay, so Magic is going to start us off with a repetitive sound and a movement. So anything you think of, anything you can think of that you can sort of sustain, like a bump, 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 or anything you can think of. Do you want to start with the movement first?
Okay, it can't be eating.
Yeah, sure. But you just gotta find a way to even if you are between real bites.
It has to be sustained. Okay.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. So keep that up. Wonderful. All right. So Magic is going to continue that movement and that sound. We're going to ask for another volunteer to turn your camera on. Amazing. Thank you. Is it Ian?
It's Marcelo. I had
no worries.
figured out
I'm
how to
glad I
change the name.
asked. Welcome, Marcelo. So Magic is doing a repetitive sound and movement. Can you find some way of connecting to this sound and movement with your own idea?
Yum. Yum.
Okay.
Yum.
Yum.
Yum. Yum. Yum.
Amazing.
Yum.
And keep going.
Yum.
Beautiful. All right, Marcelo and Magic are going to keep it up, and we're going to ask someone else to please turn on your camera. Daniel, nice to see you. All right, Daniel, can you please come up with a repetitive sound and a movement that connects to Magic and Marcelo?
Yum. 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 Yum.
All right, amazing. Keep that up. We're going to ask another volunteer to turn your camera on. All right, amazing. How do you pronounce your name? Adrian, welcome. Adrian, can you come
Yeah.
up with a repetitive sound
Yeah.
and movement that somehow
Yeah.
connects to Daniel, Marcelo, or Magic, or all three?
Yo, my shoulder get tired. Let me switch on. Yo, yo, yo,
Wonderful. Amazing. I'm going
yo,
to ask for one more volunteer. Please turn your camera on.
yo, 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 yo,
All right. Is it Loretta? Loretta, amazing. Can you please find a way to connect to these four using a repetitive sound and movement? All right, and now I'm just going to turn the machine up a little bit. So you're going to increase in volume and get a little louder. And now we're going to move a little faster. The machine is moving fast. Oh, I figured out how to slow it down, and now it's going so super slow. It seems as though it's going to come to a stop. Amazing. Please, everybody turn your cameras on and let's give love and appreciation to our volunteers.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Hooray!
And I'm going to ask, just for those who participated, this first question, what was that like if you participated in the machine?
it was different.
Yeah, can you say more, Magic?
I've actually I didn't know what this activity was until I was doing it. I was like, oh, I've seen this actually in like real life, and I'm like, much different when you're actually in space. So it was like this. It was unique doing it on Zoom.
Definitely, definitely. Well, thank you. Anybody else that participated?
Yeah, it was. I've done this before. It's called a different name, but yeah. So it's good to connect, to watch, and to feel everyone out, and to feel a part of the machine. So it was really cool to see everyone's interpretation and to add into it.
Thank you. So here's a question for those that were observing. What did you observe? What did you see? What did you notice?
I was like, I hope the first two are not getting tired.
So some concern, right? Right, this is an ensemble now. This is a group of actors working together. So you had some concern. What else? Thank you, Masis.
Connection of the smelling and the chef's kiss and the tasting and how it just organically started to go together. It was very cool to see.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Kevin, I'm going to ask if you could put up slide number 12, please. It's such a gift to have someone doing the tech while you're, if you've ever Zoom facilitated. It's like, and if you've ever been in one of my facilitated sessions, you know I need all the tech help I can get. Great. Okay. So this may be very, very familiar to you, and this may be brand new, but I want to share this. It's sort of a wheel, if you will, that comes to us from the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, which is an amazing organization out of Chicago. But they have put together this framework around social emotional learning that is targeting sort of 5 key areas. Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills. And so my question to the group, whether you participated or you observed, what, if any, of these aspects of social emotional learning did you see present in that really simple warm-up activity? And I can give you just like a little bit more on each. So social awareness might be like taking in others' perspectives, empathy, compassion, understanding like situational demands. Self-management would be like managing your emotions, self-discipline, self-motivation, self-awareness, like our personal identities, emotions, growth mindset, and then responsible decision-making, like critical thinking, anticipating consequences, and then what's the last one? Relationship skills. So communication, leadership, things like that. There's so much in the chat. Great. Active listening, social awareness, relationship skills. Gloria saw all of them. Self-awareness, advocating for self, asking clarifying questions, all yes, and. So you can see how something really simple, where we're just generating ideas, and then collaborating, how there's a lot of entry points for social emotional learning. And I want to say this, I was thinking about this when I was hearing some of those really thoughtful responses to the frameworks question that Tiffany posed earlier, is that like we're not always like teaching within one. They're nuanced and they're layered, and we can be doing explicit social emotional skill building, but also we could be doing theater or dance or visual arts. And when we're working through this lens, we're really conscious of all of these different elements and how they are embedded into our curriculum. Everything is connected. Yes. Amazing. Tiffany, how are we on time?
Yeah, that was perfect. So Jaime just sort of gave us the activity, basic theater activity, a common theater warm-up activity, a human machine, and just within that, she's pointed out, and we've got to experience how all of these different social emotional learning capacities are present. If you were to bring this activity in your classrooms, of course, you might spend a lot more time on it and you'd have time to reflect and unpack. But for our purposes, we saw that. Jaime highlighted that for us. We're going to look at the same activity through a different framework here in a moment. And so, Jaime, did you have any last points you wanted to make about the SEL framework?
No, but I'm going to intro us into the next one. All right. Kevin, can you please? Thank you. Amazing. Could I just have a volunteer to read this, please, if you're able?
You can read
it.
Oh, Gilda, thank you.
Arts integration is an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an art form. Students engage in a creative process which connects an art form and another subject area and meets evolving objectives in both.
Amazing. So we're layering, like we're baking this cake. So we've got we're not letting go of the social emotional learning that we just talked about. But now we're sort of looking through the lens of something very specific, which is arts integration. And this definition comes from the Kennedy Center. I think it's very inclusive of it really like gets to what it is, I think, very eloquently, and the color highlighted words are good for brains like mine that need to know what to look at. But essentially, if we want to break it all down, we're teaching core subjects alongside the arts, and we're they're in service of each other, and we're assessing both of those things, right? So we're not using music just to teach a science skill, right? We're teaching the music also, explicitly teaching the music. So something like the ABC song, right? Most people learned that in school, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? We're learning the alphabet through a song, but it isn't arts integration because the learning isn't about the music, right? If we were also learning like steady beat with the ABC song, that might be closer to arts integration. So how can we take something like a machine and look at it through the lens of aligning it with core subjects? Well, let's see. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right. So I'm looking at third grade here, right? So in third grade science, NGSS, those are the national science standards. They're looking at life cycles, right? So developing models to describe that organisms have unique and diverse life cycles, but all have birth, growth, reproduction, and death. I found this chart here, this cycle that demonstrates sort of the life cycle specifically of a plant. You could be doing Kinder, they talk about the life cycle of an oak tree. It's not as complex, but like from an acorn to the oak tree. And then obviously as the grades go up, the learning deepens a little bit. So they're looking at a life cycle. I've aligned it here with a theater standard around creating. So participate and contribute to physical and vocal exploration in an improvised or scripted drama or theater work. I love these standards. They're so open. Participate and contribute. We're using our voices and we're using our bodies. We just did that with the machine. So could we create a machine that demonstrates a life cycle, the life cycle of a plant, and what might that look like? We're going to do it. Yeah, why not? This is an engaged practice. So we're going to turn off the slides. We're going to stop sharing again, and we're going to do just what we did before. And I encourage you, if you didn't participate, but you thought like this looks amazing, I wish I'd done it, now's your chance. So please, everybody turn off your cameras again. And I'm going to just remind us. So if we were doing this in a classroom, in a third grade classroom, not only would we have our giant chart visible, but we would also have been talking about and learning about the cycles of a plant, the life cycles of a plant. This wouldn't be brand new information. So we know that we want to start with seeds. Those seeds are going to germinate. Roots are going to grow, the leaves are going to come up, flowers, and then we're going to start the whole process again, right? So in this machine, you can be a seed, you can be a seed germinating, you can be roots or stems, you can have leaves, you can be flowers, you can be the flowers opening up and pollinating, you can even be a pollinator, you can be a hummingbird or a bee or a butterfly, but we're going to create this life cycle of a plant together. So can I have the first volunteer turn your camera on, please? Amazing. Oh, hello, Terrence. All right. So with a repetitive sound and a movement, can you communicate one part of the cycle, the life cycle of a plant? So maybe can you start us off with the seed? How could you communicate that you're a seed? Amazing. And can you add sound? Amazing. Terrence is going to keep that up. Can I please have 2 more people turn your cameras on? Good. Okay, can we see another part of the life cycle of a plant? Can we see some roots growing? All right, and then Tiffany, oh, and Amanda, can you add sound, please? And then let's see the plant. Let's see the leaves unfurling, Tiffany, as that plant is rising up. And add sound. Amazing. And we're going to pause it here and everybody turn it on your cameras and send them some love and appreciation. All right, amazing. So you can see in that very simple demonstration that you could apply any number of outside content, right? Core content into something as simple as the machine, even a machine itself. So we're going to go to slide 15. Amazing. All right. So as we are we're good on time. Tiffany, I see.
Yeah, we're moving right along. So
yeah.
One more.
So I wanted to show you another example of a way that you can align something as simple as this through an arts integration framework. you can create actual machines, whether they start out not knowing what it is and then the students name the machine, or you look at a standard like this kindergarten standard, which is also science, where they're looking at how do we solve a problem? Like what kind of tool or what kind of machine can we improve upon, or can we create to do a certain or specific job or help us to do something, and they can create a machine based on that. So it could be imaginative, it could be real. K through 3, these Common Core Tech standards, right? Exploring tools at home. I thought it would be fun for us to look at a toaster. You can see the brave little one in the corner. Doesn't look like things worked out very well for that one, but our theater standard that we're looking at with prompting and support, we're going to use a voice and sound in dramatic play or a guided drama experience. Very similar to the 3rd grade standard, but the learning objectives have been differentiated like from 3rd grade. Now we're looking at it in a little bit more basic terms for kinder. But when we think about a toaster, right, electricity is converted to heat, which toasts the bread. So we're going to stay in gallery view, but we're all going to keep our cameras on. So can we stop sharing for a moment, Kevin, please? All right, amazing. So what are some of the parts of the toaster? What are some parts of a toaster? If we're going to create a machine of the toaster, what do we need?
The plug.
The plug. Can you show us how you might, if we were creating this as a machine together in the space, how you might do a repetitive sound and a movement to communicate the plug?
Me or everybody?
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Beautiful. Okay, you can stop, but remember that. What else do we need? We have a plug. What else?
On older ones, I guess, like the button, the lever.
Ah, the lever. Oh, so that connects also with some science standards when students are looking at really simple machines like pulleys and levers. Amazing. Can you show us a gesture and a sound that can be repetitive that demonstrates or communicates that you are the turny-on-y thing? And add a sound?
I don't know if you can hear it. I'm trying to click.
We'll take it. We know it. We know it. We can't hear it, but we know that you're clicking. Amazing. Remember that. What else do we need?
Need the outside frame, the box.
Great. How can you show us the outside box using a movement? Amazing. And great job adding that sound. Also, remember that. All right. What else do we need? Remember, electricity, right, converts to heat. That's what toasts the bread. So what do we need? We have the plug, we have the lever, we have the frame.
Heating element.
A heating element. Daniel, can you create a sound and a movement that represents the heating element? Beautiful. Remember that. All right. And what else do we need? The thing that all the students will want to do.
Toast.
Toast. Who said that? Terrence, can you please show us toast?
Just a little bit of toast. God.
Great. And add a sound?
Can you hear this? Oh, technology.
Can you make it if you use your voice, that might be easier for us to hear.
I know, I was trying not to.
Amazing. And can we have a volunteer to play the toast with Terrence? Toast is great in pairs. Maybe it's a bagel or an English muffin or something that you slice in half, 2 waffles. Somebody else want to be the toasting, whatever gets toasted. That's a volunteer. Lucas, thank you so much for volunteering to be the other piece of toast. So you can choose either what Terrence did, or you can create your own. We're going to leave our cameras on, but I'm going to ask everybody that is an element of the toaster. On 3, you're going to bring this machine to life with repetitive sound and a movement, and we're going to see this toaster at work. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Amazing. And stop. All right, give them a hand. Amazing. We could have done that with any number of machines or mechanisms. The toast is fun to do with students in person because they have all kinds of opportunities for expression. But same activity, different lens. I'm going to send it over to Donzell, who's going to now add another element that hopefully opens up even more access points.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, everyone, so I have like 6 minutes to go over this huge framework. So think of this like the 30-second trailer to a movie. We are not about to walk out of here being UDL experts after this, unless you already came as one. And with that being said, in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 5, one being no experience and 5 being expert level, how familiar are you with the UDL framework and how often do you apply it to your practice? So just go ahead and put a number in there, 1 to 5. Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, great, 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 great. All right, good. So we got a large range here of beginners to people who've been doing it for a while, and we're gonna just do a quick crash course. Well, a quick crash trailer. So Kevin, if you can go ahead and share screen and let's go through the slideshow. We'll be back in action as a group together again. So Universal Design for Learning, an inclusive approach to equitable teaching and learning. Let's go ahead and go into the next slide, please. Universal Design for Learning, UDL, is a teaching framework aimed at creating equity in the classroom by removing barriers to learning. This approach ensures all students can access, express, and retain information effectively. UDL is a flexible and adaptive way of thinking about teaching and learning, rather than a one-size-fits-all solution. One of its primary goals is to develop expert learners by encouraging student voice and choice in the classroom. Last year, the CAST organization updated their guidelines and actually removed expert learners, and they replaced that with learner agency because expert becomes very subjective. So this is an old slide that I didn't update. Go ahead and go to the next one, please. So I was told when I was a kid, I was given this mnemonic phrase for success. Prior proper planning prevents poor performance, right? But I want to change that and put it into a UDL teacher's frame mindset. Let's go to the next one. And I want to now say prior proper planning prepares powerful pathways to build learner agency. Now, I say this because part of the UDL approach is step 1, which is the planning, right? We want to plan for the many pathways that we can create for our students to have success. That happens by doing 2 things. Well, a number of things, but 2 main things. Thinking about how we're going to reduce the barriers to learning. So we're planning for that ahead of time. And then we're thinking about how we're going to activate learner agency. So that way students can start to speak up and advocate and take ownership of their learning process. Let's head on to the next slide, please. So building a UDL lesson, the planning phase. One of the first steps in building UDL lesson is to thoughtfully plan for ways to reduce barriers to learning. This phase is essentially in creating learning environment where students have firm goals, but flexible means to achieve those goals. By designing with flexibility in mind, students are empowered to self-differentiate, self-select, and advocate for their needs. While we can't anticipate every possible barrier, we can plan for many of them. From there, we foster an environment where students exhibit learner agency, helping to co-create their learning experience and address the barriers we may not have foreseen. All right, let's head on to the next slide. There's 3 core beliefs of a UDL practitioner: variability, so the options that are happening, firm goals, and flexible means, meaning that we have the objective, the learning goals, the learning target, the standards. We have to get there. How we get there is where we have the discussion. That's where we have the flexible means. And then learner agency, as I said before, I want to plan for as many barriers as possible to help reduce those barriers so every student feels welcome to learn and has many multiple entry points into the lesson. But creating learner agency so that they can speak up and say, hey, Mr. Donzell, I think I want to try this, or I need something to help me with this, right? Activating that student to advocate for themselves. UDL is, like we said, a framework. So it's a way that we approach the work. It's a thought process. It's how we really think about what what learning experience we're building. And also understanding that as arts educators, how we learned and, we chose, many of us, to go into the arts. And so we were in an environment of people who want to be theater teachers or actors, dancers, singers, right? But we're in the public school classroom. There's 20, 30, 36 kids in a classroom with all different needs and all different learning abilities. And we can't just teach how we learned, right? So how I learned in theater conservatory is not necessarily the best way for all students to learn in a public school, right? So that's why we want to use UDL with our arts education approach. Let's head over to the next slide. And so in the guidelines that UDL has, we have multiple means of engagement, multiple means of representation, and multiple means of action and expression. Again, multiple means. Next slide, please. And let's do a quick run through. The engagement, the why. So learning breaks down in our brain for 3 ways, right? The why of learning, the what we're learning, and the how. And also, how do we know that we know it? Right? So we look at engagement, the why. And we go back to the machine activity and we think about how Jaime started with that activity. It was a great activity that really we all just dove right into and we started doing. But would that have been the best way to get multiple access points for students? Not necessarily, because we could have had other opportunities to engage students to start to do this activity, right? Besides just auditory explanation. So if we look at the engagement, and these can come in different orders, the why, the how, the what. We look at the why. Let's go to the next slide. Everyone, if I were doing the machine exercise in a UDL way, I could start like this, right? Be pictures on the classroom, on the wall, pictures on their desk, pictures on a slideshow, and I could just start with, what do we see here? Everyone name some of the things you see. Start shouting out or typing in the chat what we see.
Washing machine.
Washing machine.
Coffee.
Coffee. Vending machine.
Blender.
Refrigerator.
Snacks.
Great. So then I could then move into, all right, so everyone tell me, are these what we would call machines? And do they help us make our life easier? Yes or no? Yeah. All right. Thumbs up to show yes. Typed into the chat. Yes. Great. All right. Now, if we were to think about the machines and how they help make our life easier, pick one machine from this picture that would make your life easier and tell me why.
Do you want us to share?
Yes.
The washing machine because it cleans our clothes.
All right, the washing machine because it cleans our clothes. Okay, great. So we're going to save that washing machine. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, the what. So now we have this engagement of why am I doing this? What's happening? All right, we're talking about this washing machine. Now we're going to look into the representation. We're going to look at how we actually present this information to students. We're going to save that washing machine. Let's go to the next slide. All right, we're going to watch this video really quickly. As you watch this video, I want you to type into the chat different machines you see, or you can call them out in this video, and we can play.
Finally, Lord, the thing you care about most is a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe no matter what you're working on, you need high quality tools at a great price.
Great.
And that's what we're all about.
Video.
Whatever you do,
Awesome.
do it for less at Harbor
I
Freight.
see we've got a lot of answers that we pulled up from the video. Right, this is a representation. So I've shown this content in different ways. We talked about machines. We've shown pictures of machines. I'm now showing a video machine. Again, access points. So someone's going to engage in the classroom from the discussion. Someone's going to engage in the classroom from the pictures. Someone's going to engage in the classroom from the photos, from the video. Now we have a leaf blower. We've got truck. We've got a car. We've got a circular saw. Would we say thumbs up, yes or no? A leaf blower, truck, car, all those machines make our life easier. Yes or no? Thumbs up. If yes, thumbs down if no. All right, so we got yes, they make our life easier. All right, now let's go to the next one. the expression, the action expression, the how. So now we look at how do we show we know the information that we know, right? So we had someone say washing machine, and we'll just use that group example right now. If this were the full classroom, I would let students go ahead and choose which machine they wanted to build in their ensemble groups, right? So some might be, we're going to build the circular saw, we're going to build the leaf blower, we're going to build the washing machine. Now we're just going to all as a group, and you can go ahead and come out of the slideshow back to gallery view, Kevin. Now we're going to all go into building the washing machine that Massis picked, okay? So now we're going to all make our life easier with the washing machine, because we know that machines are some things that happen that humans invent and continue to invent to make our lives easier. Washing machines make our lives easier by washing our clothes, and we don't have to hand wash them. So let's all pretend that we are the washing machine. When I say action, I want you all to make a motion of a washing machine, a part of the machine that you think. It could be the lid, it could be the drum, it could be the part that's turning around. On action, make that machine. Action. Go. Great. I'm seeing the circling around. I'm seeing the rotating like this. Great. I'm seeing back and forth. On action, unmute yourselves. And what sound does that machine part make? And action. Good. And pause. Great. All right. Now, again, this is a 30-second trailer. So if we were doing this in the classroom, let's just go ahead and like recap what just happened, right? We talked about the what, the how, and the why of the learning and gave multiple ways to engage in this, right? We allowed students an opportunity to take in the content, see it in different ways. That might be we're listening to it, we're doing a pair share, talking to each other, we're writing. It might be we're listening to a video, we're listening to something audio. Then we also contextualize it. Why is it important to their life? All right, we're talking about machines. The standard of the machine is important to your life because it helps to make our lives easier. If I'm pairing that with theater, we're going to layer that on with ensemble building, cooperation, teamwork. That's why this is important in the classroom of theater, right? Now we're also talking about multiple ways to do the machine. Now we're talking about how we do it as a group. We're doing it with our physical body. We're doing it with the vocal sounds. But then also, if this were a class, I would have different props. I would have different signages. I would have students be able to make signs. If a student doesn't want to make sound, they can just do the movement. If a student doesn't want to make sound or movement, they can hold up the sign. Remember, I talked about this idea of like having flexible means. So if a student says, I don't really want to do a washing machine, I don't feel like doing a washing machine. Great. Thank you for letting me know. Out of that picture, is there another machine you want to do? Or from that video, is there another machine you want to do? Because the goal is not have you do a washing machine. The goal is to have you imitate a machine. And they're like, yeah, I want to do the refrigerator. Great. So let's focus on doing that. Or actually, I don't want to do that. I want to do something that wasn't even on the list. Great. What is it that you want to do? Allowing the kids to have that learner agency. So again, going back to, we have firm goals. We're doing the same result, but how we get to that result is where the flexibility happens. And also how we teach that result or how we teach that lesson is where the UDL comes from, of making sure that as if you walk into a grocery store, when you walk in, those doors open, anyone can go in, whether you're walking, you're on a wheelchair, you're on crutches, everyone can equally access and go in through those doors. That's the way we want to build a UDL classroom, that everyone has something to grab onto at any one of those phases. That was a quick crash course.
Amazing.
Big ups to Donzell for doing that so quickly. Thank you so much. So I am mindful of time, so I'm going to ask us to do a couple of quick things in the next minute and a half. First of all, thank you again to all the educator development team for putting together this quick 1 hour Artist Educator Connect on how different frameworks can use the same activity to highlight, emphasize, and organize different learning goals or different competencies that we want to offer to our students. So we have social emotional learning, giving students the opportunity to tap in to recognize and understand their own emotions, the emotions of others. We have arts integration, where we're using, again, the same activity to both teach and assess an arts standard or an arts activity or an arts piece of learning and an academic piece of content together equally at the same time. And we have universal design for learning, which, as Donzell summed up at the end, is making all kinds of access points available to a diverse and wide group of unique learners with the same goal, the same objective in mind. So that was our goal for the day. What we're going to do in a moment is drop into the chat, I believe, a link to a survey, and we would love to ask you to take that. And I would gently, kindly, with great appreciation, like to pressure you to take it right now while the experience is fresh. And then I and possibly a couple other of my colleagues are willing to stay afterwards if you'd like to ask some questions of us, to talk a little bit more about it. If you do need to go, it is 4:30, so we want to be respectful of your time. Please feel free to just say au revoir, and we'll see you next time if you need to go. But if you'd like to stay, we'll stay for a few minutes, and we'd like everyone to access the survey link, which is in the chat right there. So it is 4:31. We're 1 minute over, but that is Artist Educator Connect for Thursday, April 17th. One activity, one set of goals, 3 different frameworks. And there are other frameworks out there as well, but we wanted to generate some experiences and conversation around different frameworks. So there you go.